this is the episode that is dedicated to anyone who feels like giving up. I'm getting people to step into the future. If you want your success to materialize and manifest quicker, you gotta start acting in the role of who you want to be. You can't just sit here and go, well, I'm not successful right now, so I'm not going to believe that it's possible. And that's where it is at. It's like stepping into that vibration, stepping into that power of who you want to be. And that's why Dr. Wayne Dyer has an amazing quote, and it's assume the wish fulfilled. Maybe it's not going to work. Oh, it's too hard. Oh, I'm overwhelmed. Stop expecting that your brain has been programmed for success. It has not. It's been programmed for failure. Have patience. Trust the process. Ask yourself the question, where will I be in 10 years' time? Since 2018, I've helped thousands of people heal childhood trauma, overcome addiction, get off their anxiety and depression medication, and finally take control of their lives. Many have gone on to start their own business and become speakers, coaches, and leaders who are now transforming lives every single day. I've built a global community with over 3.5 million people, spoken on stages all over the world, and now I want to help you to do the same. If you've ever dreamed of becoming a certified life coach, making a difference and building a life of purpose and freedom, this is your moment. The LMP Coaching Institute is where healing meets transformation and passion turns into profession. Click the link below to apply now and be the change that you wish to see in the world. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Luke Mind Power Podcast, another episode, another day. And this episode is dedicated to anyone who feels like giving up. So as you're listening, wherever you're tuning in from, if you're listening on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or YouTube or any of my social media platforms or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're tuning in from, at one point or another, as you're listening to this podcast, there's going to be something that happens that's going to inspire you, that's going to lift your spirits, it's going to make you feel powerful, you're going to feel unstoppable. And when you do that, I want you to take a moment and share this podcast episode with someone who you feel would be inspired and would need to kind of listen to something like this. Because yes, there is a challenge that we're up against every single day. It's our own minds, it's our own past, it's our fears, our doubts, our insecurities. It's the reality of life that we want to create that we haven't created yet. And this is why we also have to tap into some sort of motivation, inspiration, something that's going to help us to keep moving forward when we don't feel like we can keep moving forward, where, something that's going to help us and going to push us over the edge when we're a little bit scared. We're a little bit like, I've never done that before, or it's never happened for me before, so I'm going to give up because I haven't manifested or materialized my success yet. So I'm super excited to be here with you. So make sure that you share this episode with someone who feels like they want to give up, or someone who's really struggling or going through a really tough time. This is the episode that is dedicated to anyone who feels like giving up. And I'm going to make sure that this episode is titled, Don't Give Up. Never give up. Okay? Because I was coming back from the gym this morning and I was sending a voice message, I think, to my best friend Danilo. And then after that, automatically, I remember, because I know how this happened, a podcast came on of me doing an interview with a friend of mine from California. His name's Stephen. On Instagram, he's Stephen the Pharaoh. And I did a podcast with him in 2020. And I don't know how I found it, but I was on Apple. I was on Apple Podcasts, and I was looking at Luke Mindpower. I was looking at the episodes or the interviews that I've done, and that came up from 2020, and it just started playing in the car, and I was like, oh my goodness, listen to me speak 5 years ago. Who knows, maybe you're listening to this and it's been 7 years already, but this was in 2020. Okay. And so I was listening to these podcasts, and all I kept thinking was like, oh my God, listen to how I'm speaking. I'm not successful like I am right now. I'm not doing what I'm doing right now. I'm not living my dream, not living my best life. I haven't attracted the love of my life. I'm not financially free. I'm not doing what I'm doing right now. I'm in 2020. I'm living at my parents' house, and I'm doing a podcast interview with a friend, a guy that I met on Instagram back in 2019. I went to Fresno, California. I met Stephen there, and then we decided to do a podcast interview. And the way he's talking to me and interviewing me, it's like I'm the version of who I am today, but I'm not. So And that's why, I always do this with all of my clients and even with my coaching institute of people who are becoming coaches and who I'm teaching how to start their online businesses. I'm getting people to step into the future. If you want your success to materialize and manifest quicker, you got to start acting in the role of who you want to be, right? You can't just sit here and go, well, I'm not successful right now. So, I'm not going to believe that it's possible. I'm not going to, and that's where it is at. It's like stepping into that vibration, stepping into that power of who you want to be. And that's why Dr. Wayne Dyer has an amazing, amazing quote, and it's assume the wish fulfilled. Let me just allow you to write that in the comments right now. Assume the wish fulfilled. Assume the wish fulfilled. And I never forget it because it is clear as daylight, as Danilo would say, DJ Danilo, at DJ Danilo Official on Instagram. He always would say to me, bro, it's clear as daylight. It's clear as daylight. Assume the wish fulfilled. The only thing that's stopping us from our dream is time. So have patience. Trust the process. So many of us make decisions and then we second guess ourselves. Oh, maybe it's not going to work. Oh, it's too hard. Oh, I'm overwhelmed. No, of course, you're starting to do shit you've never done before and you're thinking that it's supposed to be easy. You're like, I'm going to become this or I'm going to do that. I'm going to learn this. And then they're like, oh my gosh, there's so much information. I don't know if I do this. I don't know if this is for me. And there you go with your self-doubt with, well, you haven't stepped into this life before. You've never lived this kind of life before. You've never created this kind of life that you're trying to create. And then all of a sudden there's self-doubt. Of course there's going to be self-doubt. Of course there's going to be fear. Of course there's going to be stupid conversations in your head saying, you can't do it. You can't do it. You can't do it. You know what I mean? Like, stop expecting that your brain has been programmed for success. It has not. It's been programmed for failure. If you're not where you want to be, that's because of your own brain. That's because of your own past. That's because of how you were raised. That's because of what you went through. Right? So, check yourself. Check yourself and understand that anything that you lean into and then all of a sudden it doesn't feel right or it's a bit overwhelming, that's the whole point. That's thinking that it's just going to be easy. It's all going to fall on your lap one day. You're going to wake up and it's beautiful. Wow, fantastic. I got it all. And what did you do for it? You understand the process of giving, pushing, keep pushing, trust the process. It's going to be uncomfortable. There's doubt, there's fear, I don't know if it's going to work, and I think about myself, 2020. And this is what I'm saying, guys. You have more power than you realize. If you're willing to trust the process, if you're willing to lean in, if you're willing to overcome the doubt by pushing through, if you're willing to take the risk, if you're willing to make a choice that you're afraid to make and you make it. Indecision is the cause of all worry. You've heard me say it a million times. Indecision is the cause of all worry. If you don't make a decision, hence you keep worrying. Hence you make a decision one way or another, you're going to have a new circumstance. It's either going to be a great decision you made or you're going to realize you made the wrong decision and you'll learn from it. Life is just full of lessons. It's just full of lessons. And the more lessons you learn, the better you get. But make sure that you're actually learning the lessons because, the lesson, it keeps happening until you learn it. So you can keep being in your own way for 10 years and then realize, oh my gosh, I'm in my own way. I'm going to stop doing that, right? We always just, I guess, have this expectation that it's supposed to be easy. And of course, you can have a mindset that is positive enough for you to not see challenges. It's like, oh, I'm going through this now. Oh, wow, cool. Let me just work through this. Instead of complaining. I know I complain sometimes. I'm like, so busy. I tell my fiancée, I'm like, we've got so much shit to do. I'm so I've got to do this, I've got to do this, I've got this to do. And she trips me out because she doesn't faze her. She's just has a mindset of it's a blessing. It's a blessing to have these challenges. It's a blessing to have the life we have. We have everything. We have everything that we've dreamed of, and I get triggered because I'm just like, man, do you know how much work I got? How many things I need to do? And then she's like, it's fine. It's fine. I'm like, okay, no, it's fine. I'll get the shits. But this is what it's about. You know, it is about your mindset. It's about how you see things. And a lot of the times when we don't see the progress, I guess, in where we want to be. And I think it also does come down very heavily to your routine, who you're surrounded by, how you feel, and if you're not in a good routine, like for example, for me, it takes me like I got back from another town on city. I was with my fiance at her retreat, where she certifies her students to become hypnotherapists. And yeah, I'll share with you this story as well. This is amazing. I hope it inspires you. But yeah, I had to drive back to our village where we live in Poland. It was like 4 hours, 5 hours. Locked the keys in the car on the way there. Dog stuck in the car. Chucked the piss on the seat. Then I tried to fix the car and like fix up the seats and clean it. Then I left the keys in the car, closed the door, the door locked. Then I had to call a freaking guy. I was trying to get a stick to shove it in the window to get the keys out. Couldn't find the keys. Keys wasn't even there. The key was in the boot. And then I went up to the guy and I'm like, do you reckon you can help me or whatever? I'm stranded in the highway. Anyway, he rang up and his mate came $100 later, Australian dollars. He opened up the car and I kept driving. But by the time I got back, it was pretty late. And, and then it took me when did I come back? Yeah, it took me like 3-4 days to get back into my routine. I hear you when sometimes you feel off or you're not like in your power. You're not like, and if you travel a lot as well, let me tell you, like as much as traveling is amazing, depending on time zone changes, if there's a lot of time zone changes, man, let me tell you, if you were like every week moving country to a different, like completely opposite time zones, it'll screw you. That's for sure. But if it's only like 1 hour, then it's fine. But I'm saying like routine, and I'm feeling like, because I'm back in routine, I'm waking up early, going to the gym, having my morning routine, I'm feeling a different energy. I'm like, man, let's go. Like the challenges, the problems, the thing, complaining about shit, man. Like, let's get moving. I got lots of shit to do, but that's the whole point. This is what business is about. This is what life is about. This is what entrepreneurial shit is about. It's about, I'm not in going to work for someone else. I'm working for myself. So it does come with a lot of self-discipline as well, because man, I can easily like go on the lounge and put on Netflix or YouTube and just sit there for 3 hours, and time can just go and go and go. So I have to set my pace. I have to set my day. And according to how much energy I put in is what I'm going to get out. It's just the way that it works, but I have to say that you also can force yourself. You also can force yourself to make more progress by putting yourself under more pressure. But let me just digress, because I said I was going to share something with you, which was amazing, because it just came up to me as well as how my brain works. I was at the retreat with my fiance. She has a hypnotherapy institute. So all her students that she was working with for the last 3 months were getting certified. Last December, I was with her as well. This time I went as well. And she has this retreat in a castle, which is so cool because, I was born in Newcastle. Castles have always been a big thing for me. And I always said, when I build my first house, it's going to be going to look like a castle. So that's a bit of a dream. But anyway, so end of this event, my fiance is like, hey, can you get up on stage and like do a speech, like talk? Can you do a motivational speech? But not in English, in Polish, and I am here in Poland now, and it took me 2018, 2024, 6 years to make the dream come true. And so in December 2024, I did get up on stage and I did speak. But, my speaking wasn't like, because I'm speaking in Polish, I can't flow like I can in English, man. Like English is natural for me. Like I was born in Australia, raised in Australia, grow up in Australia. Naturally for me, English is just like, in flow. But Polish, I can speak, but then I get stuck with words. And like, I remember the last time I'm standing on stage and I'm like, I look at my fiance, I'm like, how do you say peace? And I'm like, how do you say confidence? Like during the talk, like I'm like, hey, how do you say confidence? Pewno siebie. I'm like, So this time I got up again, in front of there was about 30 people. And I was standing at the back for a while because I was like waiting for them to say, okay, I want you to get up now. So I got up on stage and I started talking in Polish. And again, I thought about what am I going to talk about? What am I going to, I did do an exercise. I knew I was going to do this exercise with the smartphone, to help them understand more about the way that they think about themselves. So it's a bit of a self-love, self-awareness exercise. But I just flowed. There were moments there where I couldn't say something because it was in Polish and I never had said that word before or whatever. But when I got off the stage and I walked away, yeah, there were a few of the girls that came up and they were like, "Oh, wow, that was amazing. Thank you so much. I relate to everything you're saying," and all this kind of stuff. But when I walked away, I was like, I was like, wow. I was like, I f***ing smashed that. Like, I actually like delivered the message like punch, like a power punch. Yeah, man, I was proud of myself, man. I was like, shit, bro. You like, if you speak like that, if you can get fluent in Polish, I kept telling Yulita, I'm like, I said, baby, I said, if I get fluent in Polish and I start riffing the way that I was on stage like that and I can speak in Polish like that, man, Poland's fucked. Like, and I mean, like, when I say Poland's I mean, it's in a good way because I'm going to empower the shit out of this country, you know? And it's already becoming a very powerful economic force in Europe as well. But I'm just, and it's it's fulfilling. I remember maybe 4 or 5 years ago when I first started this journey, and I remember talking to my cousins who live here in Warsaw. And I told them, I said, I'm going to sell out that Stadion Narodowy, which is the main football stadium in Warsaw, Poland. I said, one day I'm going to sell that out and I'm going to speak there, you know? And again, these are big dreams, These are like conversations you have. And, once upon a time, it's like, yeah, whatever. Like, I don't think it's possible. I don't know if you're going to do it. I don't think it's going to happen, all this kind of shit. But everything that you believe in is something that you can manifest. I truly believe that. And so maybe, I also met my fiance, Yulita, for a reason too, because she was also a door for me to speak better in Polish. I'm forced when I go to visit her family. They only speak Polish. I don't have a choice but to sit there and get pissed off because I can't speak properly. Not that I can't speak properly, but they speak so fast that I'm just like, I can't even get a word in because they're just like, "Da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na." And I'm like, just sitting there. I'm like, give me another whiskey so I can like, you know, like calm down and like just let my mouth flow. But yeah, it is a bit challenging, because sometimes I do. Like I was standing there at the retreat in the have you ever felt like you're different? Have you ever felt like you couldn't explain yourself properly? Have you ever felt like that you couldn't be understood possibly? Well, that's how I feel. Sometimes when I'm here in Poland, sometimes I feel like I can't connect with the language or what they're saying. And so I feel stuck, you know? But the truth is, guys, anything that you're not good at, you'll never get good at if you don't continue to surround yourself with that environment. And so that gave me a lot of confidence being on stage and speaking in Polish because I was like, damn, I was like, I'm getting better. I'm getting better at speaking in Polish. Wow. So I wonder, well, the next time she has a retreat, and if I'm continuously learning and speaking and being in this environment, speaking Polish, I wonder how better I'm going to get. And this is what I'm saying about life. Life is a journey of you leaning into, what are you passionate about? What do you want to get better at? What haven't you done that you want to do? And don't allow, like, I could have easily gone, well, I can't speak that well, so I don't feel welcome, or I don't feel like I fit in, or whatever. And it's like, yeah, but I'm owning the difference, like I'm just trying my best, right? And I'm learning as I go. And that's where life becomes fulfilling, because you're doing something that you're getting better at, you're making progress. And Tony Robbins is spot on. Progress equals happiness. I made progress in my speaking ability on stage, speaking in Polish as a motivational speaker, guys. Like, I'm not standing on stage in Polish and standing up there and saying, Dzień dobry wszystkim, jak się masz, co tam się dzieje, super jestem, bardzo wdzięczny, że jestem tutaj I rozmawiam I to wszystko. Like, I'm not talking like that. Like, I'm like going hardcore, man. Like, you don't think that Luke Mindpower is going to get up and speak in Polish and I'm going to be all tsatsy, all nice and shit. Nah, bro. I'm like down your throat. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to sit in front of me and I'm going to speak. Man, there's so much fire and passion that comes through me, and and I'm just being myself most importantly. So yeah, I'm just here to remind you that you have your own power, you have your own intelligence, you have your own story, and let it be heard. And this is the beautiful thing that we have now on social media. We have podcasts, we have this technology that we can share our stories, we can create our own platforms. And if there's anything that is amazing right now, like, I mean, 20 years ago this was not possible. I couldn't connect with all of you on all these social media platforms. I No one had that kind of connection, man. I remember my mom writing letters to her pen pal in freaking overseas somewhere, another country. We were in Australia. So the fact that we have this power of social media and the possibility of, hey, let me create an account and post some content, and all of a sudden I'm reaching people in other countries that I've never met before. Wow, isn't that a blessing? That's extraordinary. I don't need to just watch the news and let the news or the TV infomercials or commercials, advertising teach me. I can connect with people and create my own TV channel. Wow. And I guess this is nothing new for many of us who are watching YouTube daily or listening to podcasts or whatever. This is probably not new to you, but many of us just don't realize that, wow, we really do have the power to connect with the world. We have the power to influence the world. And you just have to decide what kind of an influence. It's not just influence, for me, it's impact. you know like with my coaching institute, like, it's all about me teaching people how to grow your social media platforms, grow your audience. I help you to do that because I've done it and mastered it, so I teach you my blueprint. But it's about impact. It's about what kind of content am I going to create, what kind of value am I going to bring to my audience, and how am I really going to be a change for the better. Because if you come to me and say, I really want to be a life coach, or I want to be an online coach, or I want to start my online coaching business, but I want to like promote negativity, and like I want people to live a shit life, and I want like to influence people in a bad way, like, there's no way I'm going to work with you, because that just doesn't align with my morals and who I am, my values. So anyone who comes to work with us is about change. This is how we are the change in the world, because we create value for people to learn, to be inspired, to believe in themselves. Because I know how difficult it is. I struggled for years to believe in myself. I struggled for years to not thinking like that I was good enough, that I could do something that I was passionate about and get paid for it. you know so you step into finding your voice and realize that, wow, there is more to you than meets the eye. There is. There is more to you. And it's just a choice, really. It's a choice you got to make for yourself to say, is there more in me I don't know about yet? Am I just like kind of scraping the surface of who I am? And again, the beautiful part of having an awakening, having a spiritual awakening, having a aha moment in your life for yourself, where you say, you know what, like, I know there's something deeper, there's something more. I think we all do. I think we can be in, even in a successful moment, or career path, or business path right now. You probably can have it all. Even you could be married, you could have a business thriving, but as well that there is actually something else. And there's something else that you're hiding, or that you haven't discovered yet, or it hasn't been awakened yet. And you can actually go down a path of discovering more of what that is, if you choose. But guess what it means? It means that there's some sort of redirection. It's like, if you keep going down the same path and doing what you've always done, sure, maybe your business will keep evolving, and you'll go from building, let's say you're like into building houses and shit. Like, you could start at a house and then go, man, I'm building skyscrapers by the end of it, right? But then the question is, what is the purpose And am I living in my purpose? And am I really tapping into my full potential? Is that my full potential? Or is that just an evolution of a byproduct of what I've built in terms of business, for example? You know? So it could be your career. You started off as just a normal customer service person, and now you've ended up being like a operational manager. So you've made progress there, but is there something else within you that deep down that you're hiding or that you haven't tried to uncover or tap into, you know? Because it's so easy to think that I've done this so far, I've gotten to where I'm at so far, and that's it. And so I'm just gonna, because remember, guys, if you keep going the way you're going, the way you're going will keep going, which means that basically ask yourself the question, where will I be in 10 years' time? And you get to decide that. Where do I want to be in 10 years' time? Well, if I keep going the way that I'm going, the way that I'm going will keep going. And in 10 years' time, I will be maybe in a superior position of where I am right now, but it's still going to be very similar, right? Same thing as, just the reality you're living in. You have to like ask yourself these questions, like where do I want to be in 10 years time? Do I kind of want to be in the same place, or am I going to be, in my success where I know that I want to be, right? Because, you know, it's important to become aware, like you can say, oh, we all deserve success. We all deserve to have peace. We all deserve to be happy. We all deserve to have joy in our life. We all deserve to be loved and feel like we're, a part of a community and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, don't you think that you deserve what you work for? Don't you think that, if I put energy towards something I want to achieve, then I deserve it? Right? Because I think it's a bit unfair to say, we deserve to be happy. Well, happiness is a choice, and happiness is something that also is a byproduct of the choices we make in our life every day. Is the happiness a mindset? Is it the way we think? And then obviously we can also lose ourselves to not feeling happy, because the easiest thing to do, guys, is compare ourselves to other people. And, especially being exposed to social media, man, it's so easy to we look at other people's lives, other people's success, where they are. And sure, I know I've said it in the past, be inspired by them. But naturally, if we don't have a strong sense of self-confidence and self-worth and understanding like our path of who we are, then it's really easy to look at other people, to judge them, to compare yourself to them, and to wake up in the morning and not feel happy, not feel good, because we've lost ourselves in comparing ourselves. We've lost ourselves in looking at other people and thinking that their lives are better, and we're not, gonna get there, or, we're not in that place. So then we don't feel good about ourselves. But that's why I always say, whatever journey you're on right now, as you keep making progress, as you keep going through the hard moments, and the hard moments don't have to be hard. Again, it's just it's a psychological shift that you have to make with your mind. I know my situations of getting overwhelmed, so much work. I'm looking at my Slack channel, my business manager messages is sending me and all this stuff, and I'm like overwhelmed, because I'm just like information, link, and I'm just like, man, I can't freaking process this shit. It's too much. You know what I mean? So yeah, it is always about breaking it down. Just do one thing at a time. It is like that, because you can't do 50,000. I remember someone said to me, how do you eat an elephant? And I know we don't eat elephants, or I don't know who does, but you can't get a whole elephant and shove it in your mouth. Like, you can't. You just got to bite it at one bite at a time. Well, I don't know where you would bite the elephant, on the leg or on the back. But you know what I'm trying to say, right? So it is just one thing at a time. But I have a question for you guys. Let me know. Because I have really recently just become very aware of how I function. And I don't know if this is part of ADHD, ADD, dyslexia, whatever it is, man. But my learning style is quite odd. And I was definitely someone that struggled at school to learn and all this shit. So I found my way. But you know what my way is? I don't know if you can relate. I don't know if you're the same. Okay. But have you ever, and this is a thing, I can go back to high school, year 8, year 9, and remember that I was doing this back then. If I had an assignment from school and it was due in 2 weeks, I wouldn't touch it until the night before. Anyone else? Like, seriously, I would always leave everything to the last moment. So, whatever it was that I needed to do, it wouldn't get done straight away. It will get done when it's urgent, like when it's like, hey, bro, you've got an appointment coming up with your manager. If you don't get these documents done, you're going to look really bad. Hurry up, you know? And I've noticed recently that I still do that. I say, yeah, I'm going to get it sorted and I'll do it today, but then I don't do it. And then when I know that the deadline's coming up, I'm like, I got to get onto it. I got to do this quickly because otherwise. And I'm just like, yeah, but I'm like, yeah, how do I change that? And it's almost like, but I don't want to change it. That's the thing. Do I have to change it? Who said I have to change it? So someone said this to me. I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was someone who I work with in my company. But someone said, if something's not broken, then don't fix it. And so I'm looking at the evidence now. I've gotten to this level of success. I've gotten to where I'm at right now doing what I've been doing. So should I fix it? I mean, let's be honest. If I did something straight away when I was like informed about it, then I would possibly have more peace of mind and have more time, or I don't know. But what I've also noticed is that we do work better. Me anyway. I don't know if you're the same. We work better under pressure. And this is what happens in business. This is why when you make an investment into something and you know that I have to do this by this time, or I've invested $5,000 or $10,000 into this, there's a different type of relationship that you have with that, because you know that you've put something in there and now you're not willing to like disrespect that. It's like being in a relationship or having children. All of a sudden, what happens when you have kids? Naturally, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm on high alert. I've got responsibilities. I've got to go to bed on time. I've got to go to bed earlier. I've got to look after the children. I've got to pay their school fees. I've got to pay the rent. I've got to put food on the table. I've got to survive. So sometimes, and I think if you're not in business and you're not successful yet or financially free, then this can also be the wrong mindset to say, well, just get into debt so you can pay it all off. And it's like, no. When you have business and you're financially free and you're making money, it's good to have good debt. It's good to have things to pay for, because all that forces you to do is to make more money. It forces you to level up. It does. I'm experiencing, living and breathing it. So I'm not afraid to get some sort of a good debt, make some sort of payments for investments in my company or in myself, because I know that, guess what? I know I have to show up and I take action and I have to build my company and I have to get the results. Because if I don't get the results, man, I can't pay for this. I can't pay for that. I can't pay for that. Right? So the pressure is healthy. And I'm learning this as well, because I'm like, yeah, like if you want more progress, Luke, you've got to jump in the deep end and you've got to take action and you have to invest, whatever that is. So I can relate to relationships, parenting, those kind of situations in life, because it puts you on the back burner and you're like, I don't have a choice. I've got to freaking show up. A lot of the times, again, if it's too easy, it's too comfortable, and you don't have those responsibilities, man, it's very likely that you're just going to take forever. You're going to take forever. You say, I want to start my business, but I got this, and this, and this. It's like, well, imagine you invested $10,000 with somebody and they were going to help you to start your business. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I just paid $10,000 on my credit card and I got to pay the credit card off. And I was just said, I'm going to work with someone who's going to help me start my business. Well, if you start taking action and investing time into that, well, it's very likely that you're going to start your business and you're going to start having returns. Money's going to come back and you're going to pay the credit card off quicker, you know? So this is the pressure that a lot of us don't put ourselves under, and I get it. We could probably be overwhelmed with other things in life too. But when you pay attention. But this is what I'm experiencing as well, is that you have a little bit of pressure from somewhere, accountability, just like having a personal trainer. That's why you'd get a coach like myself, whether you're working on your personal development or you're working in our institute, you want to become an online coach. This is the accountability that we don't know that we need if we're going to actually make progress in our life. So you pay to get a shortcut. That's the only reason you would work with me, for example, is to have a shortcut, not to figure it out on your own. Because when you try and do it on your own, you waste time. And time is money. Time is something you can't buy. So why would you waste time? That's where you invest, so that you get the result faster, And I mean, I've invested so much in myself as well, with different inspirational leaders and teachers to get me to where I'm at now. But, just going back to that 2020 podcast interview that I was doing and just reflecting on, my journey, I'm like, wow, so it really is true. Assume the wish fulfilled. Going back to what I shared with you, assume the wish fulfilled. If you feel like giving up right now, if you're overwhelmed right now, if you feel like it's too much right now, take a freaking break and go for a walk. That's one of the best things you can do. Take a break and go for a walk. Clear your mind, move your body. Okay. But don't give up. Assume the wish fulfilled. Continue to act in the position. Continue to act in the version of yourself that has what you want. How do they feel? How do they show up? And so in me being a motivational speaker, man, I was riffing from 2018 when I started, 2019, 2020. I didn't even have a legitimate business. I didn't have it. It wasn't created. There was no entity. Sure, I was creating free coaching programs and going live in Facebook groups and going live on Instagram, but I didn't have a business. But was I acting in? Was I being a motivational speaker? Absolutely. Was I helping people? Absolutely. Was I inspiring people? Absolutely. So before I became successful, I was acting in success, being successful, showing up as if I had shit together, even though I was making no money. Like 2019, 2020, man, COVID started. The whole of 2020, I was on COVID benefits, government benefits. Seriously, I wasn't making any money. But was I creating content? Yeah, every day. I was being consistent as if I was successful, but I wasn't getting anything in. I wasn't making money. So I hope what I've shared with you today is just giving you a little bit of an inspiration and a bit of a, food for thought, that if you're not where you want to be, that's good. You're not supposed to be there. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. And don't let the fact that you're where you're supposed to be get you down. Make better choices. Don't keep going around in circles. If something's not working, then of course, like I said, don't fix something that's not broken. But if something's broken and it's not working, fix it. It's like one of those screws with a Phillips head. You're screwing it. The thread has gone in the screw where you're trying to screw it. You can't, and you're trying to turn, and you're turning it, and it's not going in the hole anymore. And you keep turning it, and you're just like, oh, maybe if I just keep turning it and keep turning it, it's eventually going to go into the hole. I'm going to screw it into the wall, wherever the screwing is screwing. But as you can see, you're looking at the thread. You're even starting to screw up the screwdriver. It's the thread, the Phillips thread, whatever it's called, is even screwed as well. And you're still there going, maybe it's going to work. Maybe it's going to work. Maybe it's going to work. So if something is broken, something's not working, something's not aligning, fix it. Make a better choice. Make a better decision. Choose something different than what you've been doing, because otherwise you're wasting a lot of time. And, you're not going to be one of these people. You're listening to this podcast for a reason. You're not going to be one of these people in 10 years' time that's going to be like, oh, you know what? Oh, I just didn't have the confidence to make a better decision. And that being said, the people that I've worked with in my coaching program, Superpower Mastermind, the 20-week program, there have been so many people that lacked self-confidence and they had problems that they couldn't fix. And as soon as they started working on themselves and they're building self-love, which builds self-confidence, which then creates the ability to make the choices that you're scared to make. Because in order for you to make and create a better life, it does require different choices, different way of thinking. And that's going to require making those choices that are very, very difficult and hard to make. But before you grow that self-love or even give yourself self-attention, all of a sudden it's difficult to even decipher or discern or decide or even see that there's a possibility of different choices. You can't even see. You're blindsided. You know, you're in the dark. And I know this because I was in the dark for many, many years. I was sleepwalking. I don't know how I was walking around, but I was sleeping on my potential, sleeping on my greatness, sleeping on believing in myself, sleeping on not knowing how powerful I was. That's why I'm here to empower you, to help you to grow, evolve, wake up to your greatness, live your best life, escape the 9 to 5, okay? And living that life where you have that freedom, to decide how you choose to live your life. And it's probably one of the greatest gifts that I've given myself is the decision of believing in myself and creating a life that I love, not creating a life by default, but creating a life by design. I get to decide every day, what kind of painting am I painting? What kind of design am I creating for my life? What's the next chapter? How am I going to write my story of my life? I'm in control of that. I'm not giving it away to someone else to decide. And if you're in that situation right now as well for yourself, where you feel like somebody else is holding your pen, somebody else is writing your story, some company or business that you're working for is writing your story and you're not fulfilled and happy with that, well, then this is a huge sign for you to, make some new decisions for yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure to spend some time with you today. I hope that you found this valuable. If you did, make sure you share it with your friends. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your dreams. Don't give up on your future, that you have the power to create the life that you love. And remember, this is the other thing that I always say. Who did I say this to? One of my clients, I think. I said, who you surround yourself with. Yes, I did. I said it to one of my clients in Florida. I said, listen, you're working with a motivational speaker. You're working with a podcast host. You're working with a social media influencer that has over 3.5 million followers. You're working with someone who is living and breathing self-love, confidence, believing in themselves, has helped thousands of people around the world to heal their childhood trauma, right? This is who you're working with, a life coach, right? And then I said, yeah, but remember this. I said, who you surround yourself with is whom you become. I said, you want to be a motivational speaker? Surround yourself with a motivational speaker. I'll leave you with that. You want to be someone that you're not? Surround yourself with that which you want to be with, and you'll become it. Just stay close to them. Stay close to that energy. Remember, everything is energy, and we feed off whatever we surround ourselves with. So I hope that with this kind of message as well, finishing off this podcast episode, you're listening to this and you're listening on the Luke Mind Power podcast. Guess what? You're also surrounding yourself with a motivational speaker. You're also surrounding yourself with my greatness, which means if you keep listening, your greatness eventually will be unlocked and it will emerge. I believe in you guys. I'm so grateful for your time. I'm so grateful to spend time with you. I'm so grateful to be here with you. Thank you so much for spending your quality time with me. I appreciate you, and I can't wait to continue this journey, continue to believe in myself, live in my dream, live in my best life, and inspiring you to do the same. And I'll catch you on the next episode. I'll see you soon.